You are one state shift away from becoming unforgettable again. And the moment you stop asking, can this still happen? The answer starts moving toward you. Let them go. Not because you do not care, but because the energy of chasing is exactly what keeps them from moving toward you. The moment you stop begging the outer world to validate you, you start returning to your real power. And that power is not in texting first, checking their profile, overthinking their silence, or wondering who they are talking to. Your power is in the state you are occupying. Your power is in the assumptions you carry. Your power is in the version of you that exists before any proof shows up. Most people misunderstand manifestation because they keep trying to fix the outer world while staying the same inside. They want the specific person, but they still think like someone who is afraid of losing them. They want love, but they keep feeding the story of rejection. They want to be chosen, but they keep living like someone who needs to earn it. That is why nothing changes. The outer world is only reflecting the inner position you are holding. So if you keep standing in the place of lack, the world keeps showing you lack. If you shift into the place of certainty, the world has no choice but to mirror that too. This is why circumstances do not matter. The current situation is not your final truth. It is only the old story playing out. And yes, I know some of you look at your situation and think it is too far gone. Maybe there was a breakup. Maybe there is no contact. Maybe there is another person. Maybe there was disrespect, confusion, blocking, or distance. But none of that matters as much as you think it does. It only feels powerful because you keep giving it attention. The more you keep asking whether it can still happen, the more you keep dragging yourself back into the state of doubt. And doubt is always the thing that delays your experience. You do not manifest by becoming obsessed with the problem. You manifest by becoming loyal to the end. The end is the only thing that matters. Not the middle, not the route, not the reasons, not the current behavior, not the current silence. The end. If your end is that they are drawn to you, thinking about you, missing you, and coming towards you with intensity, then you must occupy the identity of the person who is already wanted, not someday. Not after they apologize, not after they realize your value. Now, right now, in this moment. That is what living in the end really means. It means you are no longer mentally sitting in the old story and asking, what if it never happens? It means you are no longer making their current behavior more important than your assumption. It means you are no longer arguing with the 3D. You notice it, but you do not obey it. You see it, but you do not become it. You hear the silence, but you do not make silence your identity. You stay with a version of reality that matches your desire. And here's the part people need to understand deeply. Every time you repeat the old story, you strengthen it. Every time you tell someone what happened, ask whether it is possible, or replay the pain in your mind, you are giving the old version more life. You are not just remembering it, you are rehearsing it. And what you rehearse becomes familiar. What becomes familiar becomes believable. What becomes believable becomes your state. That is why you cannot keep visiting the old story and expect a new result. The new result requires a new inner position. So stop asking, can this still happen? That question comes from fear, not faith. It comes from a mind that is still looking at circumstances like they are the authority. But manifestation is not built on circumstances. It is built on assumption. So a better question is, what would I assume if I already knew this was mine? That question changes everything. Because now you are not begging for proof. You are becoming the one who already knows. When you stop chasing, something interesting happens. Your energy changes. You stop feeling like you need to convince anyone. You stop trying to force a response. You stop making them your emotional center. And that shift is powerful because people can feel it. Even if they cannot explain it, they feel when you are no longer available for desperate energy. They feel when you are no longer orbiting around them. They feel when you have quietly returned to yourself. And that is often when the chase begins. Not because you played games, not because you became cold, not because you manipulated anything, but because your inner state became different. You stopped standing in lack. You stopped acting as if their attention was the source of your worth. You started seeing yourself as the prize. You started feeling chosen before the evidence showed up. You started carrying the assumption that love, attention, and desire flow to you naturally. And when that becomes your inner reality, the outer world begins to rearrange itself. This is also why you should stop worrying about how it will happen. The how is not your job. Your job is to stay in the end. Your job is to remain consistent in your assumption. The bridge of events will take care of itself. The world will move in ways you cannot predict. People change, situations shift, conversations happen, timing opens, paths cross again. But you do not need to control any of that. You only need to stay faithful to the version of reality you want. And if your mind throws resistance at you, that does not mean your desire is impossible. It only means your old identity is trying to keep control. The old identity wants to keep you small, uncertain, and emotionally dependent on what is visible. But you do not need to obey the old identity. You can let it talk and still choose your new state. You can feel the fear and still return to certainty. You can see the old story and still refuse to live there. That is mastery. So today, I want you to make one decision. Stop being the person who asks whether it can happen. Become the person who already expects it. Stop being the person who looks for signs in the 3D before believing. Become the person whose belief comes first. Stop being the person who thinks the situation is too complicated. Become the person who understands that no circumstance is stronger than consciousness. That is the shift. That is the change. That is the point where everything starts moving. Because the truth is, when you truly shift, you become different in the eyes of reality. You stop carrying the energy of someone who is waiting. You start carrying the energy of someone who knows, and that energy is unmistakable. It changes the way you speak. It changes the way you think. It changes the way you react. It changes the way you carry yourself. And that new state is what makes you unforgettable again. So let them go. Let go of the old story. Let go of the need for proof. Let go of the question, can this still happen? And step into the version of you who already knows the answer. Because you are not blocked by your situation. You are only one state shift away from the reality you want. And once that shift happens, everything else has to follow. I hope this helped you. I will meet you with another golden nugget soon. Happy manifesting.